Hi, I'm the restaurant manager for the Western Melbourne, and I was in charge and responsible for the most recent Think Tank annual gala dinner. Clearly the event didn't go as planned, which is why I'm here today to complete a variance analysis and try to explain some of the issues that we could have had with the event from the interpretation of the variance analysis. So, our master budget estimate for revenue started out at $19,250 for this event. Unfortunately, in reality, our revenue was only $16,590, giving us a total master budget variance of an unfavourable $2,660. This variance has impacted negatively on profit, as the contribution from which profit can be made has decreased in this area. To learn in which area the event did not perform well enough, we need to go to the second level of analysis and perform a selling price and sales volume variance analysis. As you can see, while both areas are unfavourable, our sales volume is where the majority of our revenue took a hit, with $1,870 in possible sales volume lost. There are many factors that could have possibly come into play here. For one, we could have just overestimated the success of the event, or external factors could have played a part in reducing our number of attendees. However, there is still a hefty $790 lost from our selling price variance, which was certainly caused by the lowering of our entry prices in the effort to get more people to attend. In the future, it is recommended that we take more care when making projections and make sure that we consider the possible external environment's impact of the event in question while taking into account previous year's statistics in order to attain a more accurate projection and budget that can be followed. Now, we are going to break down our cost of sales and our two major expenses, food and beverages. Starting with the beverages, we can see that our master budget actually had us spending more money on our beverages than we actually did, with a master budget variance of $1,119, making this a favourable outcome, thus having a positive impact on profitability. Breaking it down to the second level of analysis, we can see that our selling price variance is responsible for the majority of the success, with a $711 variance from what was originally projected in the budget. In order to understand this even further, we must break this down into the third level of analysis and take a look at the direct material price variance and efficiency variance. While both of these are favourable, the area that we managed to make the most money back was with our efficiency, clearly shown by the direct material efficiency variance of $505.60. This is most likely due to the fact that we used less milliliters per glass than originally projected in the master budget, which over the course of 790 drinks, it adds up. Perhaps this was just employee error or a deliberate measure in order to save costs. Either way, in the end, it did save us a reasonable amount of money. The other side of this coin was the price of our direct materials. We calculated that we would spend $32 a litre, when in fact we only ended up spending $30, allowing us to save some money, which explains the favourable $205.40 variance in direct material price. The most likely reason for this price drop is that we made a better deal with another provider, or we negotiated well with our current provider. For food in our event, we were projected to spend $2,502.50 in main ingredients, but in reality, we only spent $1,864.40, giving us a favourable main master budget variance of $638.10, as we spent less than originally projected in ingredients, resulting in a positive impact on profitability. Breaking this down once again to the second level of analysis, we can see that the majority of this variance is made up of our selling price variance, with $395 of the $638.10 coming from fluctuations in our selling price. Once again, like with beverages, we must break this down into our third level of analysis in order to understand more fully what aspects of our selling price contributed to this outcome. Of the two, our efficiency variance contributed the most to this result, with a favourable $205.40 difference from what was initially projected. This is most likely the result of using less grams per meal than originally intended, and once again, it all adding up to a significant efficiency increase. The reasons for this could be a range of things. What I think is the most likely is that our employees were not accurately cutting the right portion sizes for the customers, or once again, it may have been a deliberate measure made by the chef to save costs. Our direct material variance was also favourable, coming in at $189.60. This comes as a result of spending $6 less per kilogram than we expected, allowing us once again to save money on our direct materials, most likely via negotiation with other providers or our current provider. Now that we have determined whether our variances are favourable or unfavourable, we can cross-analyse these against our specific strategic objectives for the event. First up, the financial impact of our revenue variance. The master budget variance of revenue was unfavourable by $2,660, and it was determined that the organiser possibly overestimated the success of the event, which in turn led to the manager to lower door prices in order to try and make up as many people as possible. By the very definition of the strategic objective, by having less people coming through the door with enough people rostered for what was originally projected, we are lessening our labour productivity in the front of house, and therefore our unfavourable revenue variances reflects negatively on our financial strategic objective. Our food and beverage variances in this instance was favourable, which we determined came about as a combination of negotiating with suppliers for better prices and using smaller portion sizes than originally planned for. These slight changes do still raise our sales per crew hour, meaning that each one of our employees are contributing to a slightly increased profit, even if we have too many crew on the floor, which does mean our labour productivity was increased, and this reflects positively on our financial strategic objective. Next up is our customer base strategic objective. The goal of this objective is to increase repeat business throughout the Western. If we continue to assume that the result of our unfavourable master budget revenue variance had everything to do with the lack of people to attend the event, then we can conclude that this variance reflects negatively on our customer base strategic objective, as if the amount of people coming through the door is less than projected, then you'll have an even lower number of customers returning for repeat visits. The food and beverage variances, while favourable in nature, I can only conclude would reflect negatively on the customer base strategic objective as well. This is because while we did save money on the food and beverages itself, it was all at the cost of the customer themselves by reducing the portion sizes they were receiving. So unless the food was absolutely amazing in every sense of the word, it cannot bode well for return visits. As for the organisational processes, I believe our unfavourable master budget revenue variance would reflect negatively on the strategic objective. If we look at the description, we can define success in this objective as anything that decreases errors in production and service processes. But via our own interpretation as to why we did not get enough guests, we have to assume incorrect and wildly off projections to be a result of failure of the service processes, therefore reflecting negatively on the organisational process's strategic objective. With the food and beverage variances, I would conclude that the favourable outcome of these variances would reflect positively on the strategic objective. If we assume once again that the head chef was acting on the knowledge that there would not be as many people dining tonight, then it was absolutely a success of the service process that they altered the portion sizes to save in efficiency. The final strategic objective here is based around increasing demand from employees and other departments to be cross-trained in the food outlet. Comparing the master budget revenue variance result to this objective, it can present as a positive influence to the objective. This is because when you have a ton of extra people to do what is needed, it becomes much easier to buddy up some of the extra people you have with someone fully trained in another department, resulting in mass cross-training on the job. The food and beverage variances, I would say, reflects positively on the employees' demands to cross-train. Since there are less guests and consequently less orders to handle with more than enough crew, it encourages crew to want to go do other things and cross-train as they might not necessarily be needed in the department. So that's all I have for you today. Thank you for listening and enjoy.